What's up guys, it's Jeremy back with the next gem, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale figure of Cyclops. I wanted to pick this guy up because look at the costume, that colorful costume, that blue and yellow. It's that Jim Lee design, that 90s costume, and man, I just felt like I needed to pick this guy up. I've always been a pretty big fan of Cyclops, and this costume I think it's a really nice design, but the question is the figure living up to the design? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you wanted to see the box art of the figure, I did do a quick unboxing video. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link or a little annotation info card at the top. But before I talk about the costume and the full figure, let's talk about some of the accessories. Okay, so for his first accessory I want to talk about is the stand. So he comes with this black hexagonal stand. Definitely, it's hollow, very cheap feeling, and no design. And I don't know if you notice, this the hook here is missing a little rubber part at the end, so that kind of sucks. I'm like, oh man, I must have misplaced that. But apparently, if you go back and watch my unboxing video, it actually already was missing one of these. So that's kind of, I don't know if I want to ask Sideshow to like send me a replacement. I know this is a very little thing, but when the figure is like rubbing against like the metal, it's no bueno. So the stand itself even has this like little mark right there, and it kind of sucks that for a figure that's priced about $240, they're gonna give you this cheap, really cheap stand. So that sucks, honestly. Probably one of the better accessories, and I think it's actually really well done, really well tailored. The tailoring is really good on this. I'll definitely put in some videos of him in the jacket. It's this orangey brownish jacket. It's pretty well tailored. It's a bit it'll look a bit small on him, but it's very representative of him in the show. I kind of wish it was a darker brown rather than a orangey, very light brown. But still pretty cool nonetheless. It has this brown lining in here, so I don't think this will stain the costume at all. I think you're more likely have to be worried about if this is real leather. I don't think it is. If it's going to actually start flaking off or not. So I think that's the biggest worry about this. But other than that, like all the stitching is very complicated. You can see all like the panel lines and all that stuff. So I think the jacket is probably my favorite accessory. My second most favorite accessory would be the laser firing effect, and I actually think it's really well done. I have the Toys era, what do they call it? Laser Eye, the James Marsden original trilogy Cyclops, and I really wish he had this, because look at that. It's a bit of a gradient effect. It starts off a little bit lighter and turns more red. There is no light up feature with this figure. I don't mind personally, but as long as this is well done. Because I know some stuff like this could look cheap, but this will fit onto the body, onto the head really easily. Actually, let's talk about my least favorite accessory. It was a cool idea, honestly, a little smoke effect on this visor, but I'm gonna show the visor changing feature here pretty soon. But this thing is super flimsy, so you gotta be careful with that. If you actually get the exclusive version, I think I mentioned in the unboxing, I thought that the jacket was part of the exclusive. It's not. That also comes with the standard version. This is the only additional accessory with the exclusive version. Honestly, it's not really well done. If you could kind of see some of the details, it's not cut very properly. You can see a little bit of hanging plastic all around. There's even like missing paint here, a little dot right there, and you can see the seam lines of on the plastic on both sides. So that kind of sucks, especially when you have like this accessory. I guess you could kind of see it here on this side, but it's definitely not as prominent on this visor and the one that he actually comes with. Let me show you that visor real quick. And yeah, see, you can like the seam is there, but it really, you can't really tell as much as that smoke effect visor. Actually, let me show you how you take it off. So it's very easy. It's basically just pegs in with this horizontal peg. Oh man, look at that guy. But with the blaster effect, or optic blast effect, fits really easily and looks very natural, I think. So it looks really cool in like dynamic poses. And it just comes off really easily. It won't fall out on its own, but it fits easily and sturdy. Unlike this one though, I don't know, for some reason, I was trying my best to really get this to line up well. And you can see I'm really trying to like line it up, but for some reason it's just not, that's not the lighting, but it's just not fitting on straight. And I don't know if it's the peg or what. It's just not fitting well. So this accessory is definitely my least favorite out of the bunch, primarily just because that the thing doesn't line up with his nose on the visor compared to the other ones. Show you some of the hands. He comes with a pair of fisted hands, a pair of open palm hands for some of that dynamic pose action, couple of pointing hands so you can give some commands to his fellow X-Men to go that way or this way. Or I guess these are also his optic visor button pushing hands. I kind of wish, for some reason I always thought the Cyclops pushed his visor with 2 fingers rather than just 1, but I kind of wish they give us 2 options, one with 2 fingers and also these pointing fingers as well. Just a regular thumbs up, just one for some reason for his left hand. So just one. That's interesting. You can have him thumbs down even, but so that's cool. Thumbs up, Cyclops. I don't know why they included that, but I'll take it. Alright, so that's it for his accessories. Let's get on to the full figure. Alright, so I just have Cyclops here in a museum pose just to see all the cool designs here on the front of the figure. The blues are really, I think it could have been a darker blue, honestly. But this shade of blue makes him stand out on the shelf. And I don't know if this is actually picking up on camera or not. But, oh, yeah, that's crotch shot right there. But that's what I actually wanted to talk about. These are made of plastic bits. His harness is made of plastic, as well as like this X symbol. Everything's plastic except for like his wetsuit, I guess, and his outer underwear. But the weird thing is that his outer underwear is a lighter shade of yellow than the plastic bits. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but just this, his underwear on the outside is slightly like a lighter shade. These are a little bit more orangey. So I kind of wish that they made it uniform. I don't know why they did that, but so that bothers me a little bit. Another thing you might notice is the alignment of the belt. I do not like that. Like, I kind of try to shift this over a little bit, but because of the harness, it's kind of stuck like this, and I can't really move over this pouch more to the left. So there's this space just here between his belt, and it kind of sucks. So it's like you get all these pouches, and then the alignment of the harness and this plastic bit doesn't close up that little gap right there. So that's a bit annoying considering the price point of $240 plus shipping and tax, and that just, it irks me, that little thing right there. I don't know if you're like me. I know a lot of collectors are going to be caught up on the details, and I am as well. On the back though, everything looks fine. All the pouches, his pouches along the side here are like this softer rubber, same material as his harness, but there is some cool detail along the harness. It's not the most sharp detail, I would say, but it is cool. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, so it's like the details could be a bit sharper in person. It doesn't look that sharp, especially here on the X symbol. I know it might sound like I'm bashing on this figure a lot, but honestly, I think the costume is really cool. And these things here on his leg are also a softer plastic. I like the costume mostly because of its design, but the execution of it could be a bit better. However, I do like the coloring of the blue. I like the little piping down all along his costume, runs through all around. It makes me want one of the astonishing X-Men design Cyclops figures. I still think they did a pretty good design. I don't know. I'm still deciding or not whether or not I want to keep this guy. And see, this pouch even came off. It's a weird clasp design. And just like this, it kind of makes it look a bit better. So that at least there's a gap on both sides. But he came with this on this side, and this just ended up falling off. So, I don't know what to do. I want to just move this over, but it's kind of stuck in place. It's glued onto the actual leather softer belt that's underneath. Alright, so let's talk about the likeness really quick. And I actually think the paintwork on his head sculpt is actually pretty well done. I think it looks pretty realistic. That especially getting the blue to match the rest of the fabric costume here is plastic, while this is fabric. And it's still, you can't really tell from afar that it's a different shade of blue or not, because it is the same shade of blue. I think they did a pretty good job on that. I do like that the red plastic in his visor is a bit metallic looking as well, so it makes that stand out. Always kind of like looks like his visor is lit up. So I think that's a pretty cool effect. And his hair, I think, is actually pretty underrated. I don't know if anyone has talked about this yet, but the detail on here is actually pretty cool. It's pretty sharp, gets swept to the side on this side, and comes all around over his mask. So I think that's a pretty cool head sculpt. If anything, his lips could be a slightly different shade than the rest of his face, but you could kind of, in this harsh lighting that I have right now, it doesn't really let him stand out a bit, but in person it does look a little bit better. Okay, so I actually wanted to quickly talk about the proportions of the body. I do feel like it is a bit undersized. I know on at least on the upper body, it's a bit weird. I know Cyclops is supposed to be a slim guy usually, but I know like in the cartoon he was usually pretty big. But it's weird. At least in hand, his thighs are a bit big, it feels like, or his legs feel a bit too long, and then his arms are a bit skinny. So it's a bit weird contrast where it's like you would have bigger legs and then skinnier arms. for Cyclops. I kind of wish, okay, if they're gonna go with the bigger legs, then give him bigger arms. He seems a bit disproportionate, in my opinion, just a little bit, just a tad bit. I know that some people were complaining about that on the forums, on the Sideshow forums, and I could see it a bit. Yeah, like his arms just are a bit skinny when you compare him to him in the 90s cartoon. But you can actually see some vein work here on the forearms. So it's weird. It's like he has bigger thighs and then a slim upper body. Kind of wish they would have had those kind of similar to each other. I think that's probably the biggest negative I have of the figures. Probably the proportions are a bit out of whack. Just slightly, just a hair. Alright, so let's go over some articulation. His head is on a ball joint, so it goes all around, everywhere. It does have some slight movement at the base of the neck, but you can get some really cool blasting upward poses. Some in and out, on and forward and back. It is on the ratchet joint, so that's nice. I always like when figures have ratchet joints. Unfortunately, I don't think they needed it on this Cyclops figure, but I'm glad it's here. It's a bit weird squeaky sound, but he can go in and out, double bend at the elbow. It is a weird looking elbow joint, but nonetheless, it is a double bend. You can get a swivel at the wrist. Yeah, you get that. You can go in and out just a little bit, but because of the design of the wrist or the gloves, you can't really go too much. You can slightly bend him at the torso, and he can rotate at the torso. His legs can go forward and not really back too much, but he can go pretty far because his costume is very stretchy. That's very nice about this figure as well, that this stretchy fabric, look how far you can pull that, but it's still like hugs the body really well. Go out, so going forward it's not a ratchet, but going out you get like one click, so you can have him so it won't just like flop down. Ooh, yeah, this is kind of scary to me. This knee joint is really tight on mine. It's a double bend, but at the knee. See, this side is a little bit easier, but yeah, this knee joint is a bit too tight on mine. Might need to work that. Hopefully I don't break it. And you actually get a split cut design on his ankle. Not too much, but it's enough that helps him stand in dynamic poses. So that's really cool. Get a swivel up here at the hip also. So really good articulation. The costume does not hinder it very much. If anything, some of the joints are too tight, like on my knees. But overall, I actually really like the articulation on this. It does what you need it to do, especially in all the Cyclops poses. I feel like you can get pretty much what you need. Unlike that Toys era leather costume version. But speaking of that, let's get that Toys era version out here for a bit of a comparison. Okay, here is a comparison with the Toys era Laser Eye, aka Cyclops from the original movie trilogy, with the James Marsden likeness, slight James Marsden likeness. But you can definitely see there's a huge difference, especially in color and design. Of course, you can definitely tell it's still Cyclops, but that color, man, that blue really pops out. He's definitely more slim in this design, but definitely I would say if you're gonna have one Cyclops in your collection and have to choose between these two, I would probably say this one. I do like this figure, but one of the main downsides of this figure is he has a hard time touching his visor and doing the famous Cyclops optic blast pose, whereas this one can do it very easily. Actually, looking at them side by side, the proportions do look better on this as well. I also think the costume makes him look a bit stiff as well, but I get it. He was in this leather outfit. I still do like it, but I would say I do prefer this Cyclops. I do prefer this Cyclops just a little bit more. So overall, for my closing thoughts, I really think it's a good figure for this interpretation of the costume. I like that I can get all the classic Cyclops poses, and the bright colors really stand out on the figure. Overall, I really like the design. There are some things that could have just been fixed just slightly to make this a better Cyclops figure. I think it's probably the best Cyclops figure out there right now. I'm wondering if I should get the Toys Era Cyclops tech, the X-Men Apocalypse version. I don't know if I want to check that out or not, but from what I've seen, I would probably say this might be the best Cyclops 1/6 scale figure that's out right now. There are some things that could have been done better, but overall, I think this is a really solid figure. If you can pick them up at a discount, I would say, like, if you don't need the smoke effect, I don't think you really need it. I would say if you can get them for a bit cheaper, that would be the way to go. But for $240 plus shipping plus tax, I don't think I think he should be a little bit cheaper with what he comes with. But overall, I do like the figure, and I do recommend getting him if you're interested in this classic design of Cyclops. So, what do you guys think of the figure? If you have any questions about him, feel free to ask it down below in the comments. But until we unbox again, I'll see you guys later.